Hi, hello, good morning. How are you? And welcome back. I am Dr. Harika Kishore. On behalf of Vestas Learning, I'm here as your biology educator. Vestas Learning, it's an online education platform which works with an ideology of providing quality education for all. Get your acquaintance with all the channels made available for you and make sure that you subscribe to the channel Vestas Learning Class 11 and 12. Please do watch this session. If you find this session informative and helpful, make sure that you will like and share this session with your friends and family members. And also make sure that you click on the bell icon such that you will get all the upcoming notifications. Saying that, let's start today's session. From previous session, we had a discussion about autoimmunity and we had a complete idea about how the autoimmunity will work in the immune system and it's going to affect our own cells and produces different types of autoimmune diseases, right? In the chapter Human Health and Diseases, let's move forward to another important topic, that is acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, which is abbreviated as AIDS. Let's understand how this AIDS will infect and what is the structure of the virus which is responsible for causing this acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. Now, here the word already we know. AIDS stands for acquired, means we are getting this through our lifespan. It is not like congenital that present at the time of the birth. We are acquiring, we are adapting this infection through the lifespan after birth. That is what it is, not congenital, it is acquired. And once it is acquired, it is going to show its effect on immune system. It is weakening the strength of the immune system. That is what we are calling it as an immunodeficiency. It is causing the deficiency in the strength of the immune system, which works against each and every infection and protect your health. And which leads to, because of this immune deficiency, it is going to lead to a group of symptoms, and that group of symptoms, what we are calling it as a syndrome. Now, this means deficiency. Deficiency means it is weakening the strength of the immune system. As we have already discussed about how the immune system is protecting against the diseases and infections, where different types of cells, organs, and majorly which is attributed to the affect our B cells and affect our T cells, and also different types of the cells coming from macrophages, which is acting as a phagocytes. All this together works against the infections, identifies the antigen, what we call it as an epitopes, which are present on the antigen, and starts producing the perfect paratopes that are present on the antibodies. And this interaction between the antigen and antibody is going to neutralize that antigen. That means neutralize the microorganism or foreign invader which enters the body to cause the diseases. But all these things is not happening because it starts weakening the strength of the immune system, which is starting, the virus is fighting to decrease the strength of our immune system. We have a defending system in the name of immune system. If the immune system itself is going to weaken, then the infection starts to appear in that patients, starting from very common infections to the lethal infections. You get here. This means deficiency of immune system acquired. It is not congenital, it is not present at the time of the birth, but it is acquired during the lifetime of an individual, and indicating that it is not congenital disease. It is an acquired disease which shows its effect in decreasing the strength of the immune system. That is what we are calling it as an acquired immunodeficiency group of symptoms called as syndrome. And that syndrome means group of symptoms. Group of symptoms. It is not merely one symptom, it is a group of symptoms. Now, AIDS first reported, this is very, very important, in the year 1981. Before also, there is an existence of this virus that is called as HIV, which is going to infect and it causes the syndrome that is called as acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. But the first reported case was happened to be done in the year 1981. And in the last 25 years or so, it was spread all over the world, killing more than 25 million population. 25 million persons. This is a very huge number. Now, moving on to, as we already know that this syndrome is caused by virus, and that is caused by human immunodeficiency virus. Human immunodeficiency virus, that is HIV, which is the member of viruses called retrovirus. Retro literally means old, aged. Retrovirus, where this HIV is enclosing RNA as its genetic material, and which has an envelope that encloses RNA genome. That means here we do find the presence of a single stranded RNA which act as a genetic material, and this present inside the envelope, where we can see this envelope is enclosing its genetic material, and RNA is a form of the genetic material we do find in the case of retroviruses. Now, transmission of this HIV infections generally occurs through many ways, out of which the main important way of transmission of this infection is sexual contact with infected persons. That is, intercourse with an infected person and by transfusion of contaminated blood and its blood products. What do you mean by blood products? It may be plasma, it may be platelets, or it may be RBC, red blood cells. These are all comes under blood products. While we are getting transfusion, blood transfusion, it is very, very important that we make sure that the blood is not contaminated with the HIV. There are so many ways where this contamination happens during sudden accidents or the severe surgeries, where we do the transmission of the blood is necessary, right? So in these conditions, where the transmission or the transfusion of the blood is taking from one individual to the another individual, it is very, very important to make sure that the blood is devoid, it is not contaminated with the HIV. And also by sharing the infected needles, or in case of IV, intravenous drug abusers. This is IV, intravenous drug abusers, and from infected mother to child. But in this case, if the mother is already diagnosed with the HIV, then her baby can be protected by proper medication, and we can stop the transmission of this HIV from the infected mother to the newborn baby, thus that we can protect newborn baby from the disease that is called as AIDS. Now, so people who are at high risk of getting this infection includes definitely, that is, drug addicts, who are very often they are going to inject intravenously, that is IV injections, where in case if a person who is infected with the HIV, we know that the HIV, once it enters, it has to proliferate and it has to show its effect on the important cells of the immune system, that is T4 cells as well as macrophages. Therefore, decreasing number of the T4 cells, which is otherwise called as T helper cells. We know that how important this T helper cells, otherwise called as T4 cells, are to the immune system. They are very, very important for providing the immunity. If there is a decrease in the number of these T4 cells, or if there is a number in the decrease of this macrophages, which is acting as a phagocytes, we already discussed about the mechanism of phagocytosis, right? Now, in this case, once the infection happens, it is going to proliferate its number and it is going to show its effect, decrease, destroy the T4 cells, and also uses its macrophages as their factories to produce more and more number of HIV viruses. In that case, it is going to decrease the immune system capacity. And now the blood which is infected with this HIV, all this process to take place and to show the symptoms of the AIDS, it will take barely ranges from 5 to 10 years. Before that, the infected person will not show any symptoms, prominent symptoms. In that time, while he is using intravenous drug injections, drug abusers, by the drug abusers, then the infected needle is used by his friend who is uninfected, who is healthy. Then there is a much more chances of this transmission of this infection, and therefore the healthy person also start to develop the symptoms of this AIDS through the period, right? So this is how the infection happens. Individual who required repetitive blood transfusions. Who required repetitive blood transfusions? Those persons who are suffering with the severe blood disorders like anemic conditions, severe anemic conditions, thalassemia conditions, right? And majorly that is leukemia, blood cancer, where all these are considered as a hemophilia. All these conditions we can consider as a severe blood disorders. In that conditions, we find that repetitive blood transfusions are required. And as this multiple blood transfusions are required for that person, he has to be very, very cautious about the blood which has been entered or which has been transfused into his body, that it is devoid of HIV every time while he is going for the blood transfusions. Now, and as we already said that newborn babies, child born to an HIV infected mother has to be diagnosed properly. Once she is set as a positive, unfortunately HIV positive, then she has to be under monitor such that all the medications has to be taken properly to protect her baby, such that we can protect the newly born babies from infection who are coming from an infected mothers. Now, it is important to know that HIV AIDS is not spread by mere touch or physical contact. It will never transmit or spread from one individual to the other individual by a normal handshake or tap on the shoulder or a hug. Social touch. It will never transmit or spread by the social touch. Then how it is going to spread? It only spread through blood fluids. This is very, very important. Now, moving on to. So here, it is hence imperative for the physical and physiological well-being. Imperative means very, very important, vital. For physical and physiological well-being, that the AIDS or HIV infected persons are not isolated. That rejection, ignorance, humiliation, all it has not to be presented, and he has to treated well by his family as well as society also. And there is also a time lag, as we already said that once the HIV virus enters into the individual and the time at which the individual starts showing the symptoms of the AIDS, the time duration which is present between the infection and the appearance of the symptoms, that we call it as a very time lag. The duration ranges between the infection, one is the infection, and appearance of AIDS symptoms, it ranges from 5 to 10 years. This period may varies from one few months one individual to the another individual, where it ranges from few months to many years, usually 5 to 10 years. Right? So here, it's very, very important to understand the structure of the HIV, which belongs to the group of the viruses called as retroviruses, as we already discussed. And now, let's try to understand what are the components that are present in the structure of the HIV, right? So here, as we already said that. The genetic material of the HIV is in the form of RNA, right? Where it is enveloped by protein coat. And we do find the presence of the lipid bilayer. To which we do find the presence of glycoproteins, spike-like arrangement in this lipid bilayer. Okay. So look at here, HIV, this is what the structure of the HIV look like. Let's have a discussion about what are all the parts that are present in the HIV structure. So HIV is abbreviated, as we already know, human immunodeficiency virus, that we already know. And the genome is made up of RNA. The genome of HIV contains two single-stranded RNA. These are two single-stranded RNA we find in the envelope, which is enclosed molecules in a folded form. Now, the virus is composed of a capsid protein, and that capsid protein is protein 24. First, the envelope which encloses this genetic material, we can find the presence of the genetic material as well as the important enzymes. We find the presence of reverse transcriptases, and also we do find the presence of proteases enzymes, and also we also find integrase, which is important to integrate into the host cell. These are all the enzymes we do find in the HIV structure. So the genetic material is composed of the RNA. Along with the RNA, we do find the presence of the enzyme. In that, the very important enzyme is reverse transcriptases. All these enzymes, along with the single stranded RNA, which is enclosed by a protein that is called as, here we can see, capsid protein, and that is P24. This capsid protein encloses the genetic material, and this capsid protein is further enclosed by another protein, what we call it as a matrix protein, and this is represented by P17. That has been surrounded by a protein envelope, and that is called as P17. See, first the virus is composed of first a protein code. What is the protein code? That is called as capsid protein. This capsid protein is P24. Here is a single stranded RNA, and also we have the presence of the enzymes, reverse transcriptases, which are surrounded by the capsid protein P24, and that P24 is further surrounded by an other protein, what we call it as a matrix protein, and it is represented by P17. P17. Now, this P17 is further surrounded by lipid bilayer. The lipid bilayer has many spikes of the glycoproteins, which shows the presence of spikes of glycoproteins. These are all spikes of the glycoprotein we can find. So this is a transmembrane glycoprotein, and this is surface glycoprotein. Surface glycoprotein is represented by GP glycoprotein 120, and the transmembrane which is embedded into the lipid bilayer is represented by the glycoprotein 41. Glycoprotein 41. Look at here, which is the inner part of the glycoprotein. This is the inner part of the glycoprotein. Here, this is the inner part of the glycoprotein, GP41, and G41, and this is the outer part, which is called as GP120. Okay, this is the complete structure. Let's reverse it once. So here we know that HIV, which is the human immunodeficiency virus, consisting of a genetic material in the form of RNA, and that RNA is two single-stranded RNAs. Two single-stranded RNAs are present, where we do find the presence of the other enzymes also, that is reverse transcriptases and also proteases and also integrases. So these are the enzymes which are present in here, where the genetic material is present. Now, that genetic material is surrounded, enveloped by a protein coat, and that is called as capsid protein, which is P24. First one is P24. Now, this in turn is surrounded by, enveloped by another protein, and that protein is called as P17. P17. So, first single-stranded RNA plus enzymes. To that, protective coat is capsid protein, which is P24. To that, again, it is surrounded by another matrix protein that is called as P17. Right? Now here, these protein coats are further surrounded by a lipid bilayer. You can see the lipid bilayer. Above the lipid bilayer, we do find the spike-like structures, what we call it as a glycoproteins. And here in the glycoproteins, the surface glycoprotein part is glycoprotein 120, whereas the transmembrane which is embedded into the lipid bilayer, that is called as transmembrane glycoprotein, and that is 41. So here the outer part of the glycoprotein, surface glycoprotein, is GP120 and is attached to the inner transmembrane glycoprotein, that is called as 41, GP41, which is the inner part of the glycoprotein. Got it? Now, let's move here. So as we already mentioned about the enzymes which are present, look at here. The enzyme, this is very, very important, reverse transcriptase. Reverse transcriptase. We already know, see, DNA converts into mRNA. mRNA is formed from the DNA, and this process we already know, this is called as transcription. Right? From this mRNA, proteins are produced, right? And this process is called as translation. But here what is happening? RNA is converting to produce DNA. That means RNA is producing DNA. So as it is opposite to the transcription, we are calling it as a reverse transcriptase. Reverse transcription process, and for that process we need an enzyme that is called as reverse transcriptase. Got it? So every time we do find the formation of the mRNA from the DNA. This is a central dogma where the DNA is converted into mRNA, process is called as transcription, but the opposite to this process is happening by the means of HIV. That is what we are calling it as a reverse transcription, and the enzyme is called as reverse transcriptase, where RNA is producing DNA. Now, there is, so here, which is responsible for the conversion of RNA to DNA. For this, reverse transcription enzyme, reverse transcriptase enzyme is needed. There is other enzymes called as we already said, that integrase, where it is useful for integration of this HIV genome into the host cell, and also what we call it as a host organism has their host cells. Each cell has been infected with this HIV. This HIV genome get integrated into the host cell. For that, the enzyme which is needed, that is called as integrase. Now, which helps the viral genome, that is RNA, to integrate into host cell, right? Here. So, HIV comprises an outer membrane. Outer membrane is made up of lipid bilayer. Outer membrane consisting of lipid bilayer. As we already know, lipid bilayer looks like this, right? And it is having a spikes of glycoproteins. These glycoproteins also we have seen like this, like this. This is how spikes of glycoproteins will look like. And to represent the outer part and inner part, we are differentiating like this, right? Where the outer part, see, is linked such a way that GP120 protrudes from the surface of the viruses. So these are GP120 and these transmembrane glycoproteins are GP41, right? Now, inside this membrane is a nucleocapsid. As we already know, there are two protein layers inside. The outer one is this, P17, and the inner one is P24, which is very close to the single stranded RNA. So within this core, this is the core, within this core are two copies of single stranded RNA, and that is called as virus genome. See? And along with this, we do the presence of important enzymes for incorporation as well as formation of DNA from RNA, that is reverse transcriptases. So, single stranded RNA, which consisting of important enzyme called as reverse transcriptases, integrases, proteases, which are surrounded by the first capsid protein, that is called as P24, and this is surrounded by matrix protein P17, which is further surrounded by the lipid bilayer, which consisting of a spikes of glycoprotein, where it has two parts. One is surface glycoproteins, another one is transmembrane, which is integrated, which is protruded into the lipid bilayer, and that one is called as, that transmembrane glycoprotein is 41, whereas the surface glycoprotein is 120, right? Now, so here, surface glycoprotein. Now, so here, HIV only infect, as we already mentioned, that HIV is going to infect the cells which are showing a surface receptors, a particular surface receptors, particular type of surface receptors, that is CD4. We already have a discussion about what is CD, cluster of differentiation. If this cluster of differentiation 4 is present, we consider that cells as a T helper cells, and we find the T cytotoxic cells, also called as TC cells, contain CD8. So CD8, that means cluster of differentiation 8 is present on TC cells. CD4 is present on TH cells. This is very, very important. Okay. HIV only infect certain types of cells. In general, these cells carry CD4, which look like T cells. Wait, I'll take another color. Yeah. surface receptor protein is CD4. Therefore, we are considering this cell as a CD4 cell or TH cell or T helper cell. We call it many ways, but the cells are single type. The cells which consisting of CD4 receptors on their cell surface, we consider them as that type of T lymphocytes as a T4 cells or TH cells, T helper cells, or T helper lymphocytes or TH lymphocytes or T4 lymphocytes. Now, look at here. Some cells, as in general, these are the cells which carry CD4 receptors on the surface. That is what we are calling it as a T4 cells. T4 cell, right? Now, some cells in the immune system have these receptors in particular that we call it as a T4. See? T4 lymphocytes, otherwise called as T helper cells. We know that how importance is being given to this T helper cells, where this T helper cell helps the B cells in the formation of the antibodies, as well as it presents the antigen or the foreign invader to the B cells, thereby it stimulates the cell mediated, and also it helps the remaining type of the TC cells that will act as a T killer cells, right? Now, these cells are often referred to as a CD4. This is the cluster of differentiation, that is the receptor protein which are present on the T cells. That is what we call it as a CD4 cells or T4 cells. All these are one. We can call it as a T4 cells or CD4 cells or TH cells or T helper cells. All the cells belongs to T4 cells. Now, other cells carrying this CD4 receptors include white blood cells, particularly monocytes, which matures to give rise to macrophages. We already know that macrophages will act as a phagocytes, which shows the mechanism called as phagocytosis, right? Phagocytosis. So here, we came to know that monocytes matures to give rise to macrophages. Both monocytes as well as macrophages will act as a phagocytes. Let's see the structure of monocyte, how it is looking like, or macrophages. Macrophages. These macrophages are going to work as a factories for HIV. Look at here. After getting into body of a person, this virus enters into macrophages. This virus enters into macrophages. Now, where DNA, where the RNA genome of the viruses, we know that the genetic material which is present inside the virus is RNA. So here, the RNA genome of the virus replicates to form viral DNA, and that process, just we said, that is called as reverse transcription with the help of an enzyme called as reverse transcriptase. With the help of an enzyme called as reverse transcriptase, this viral DNA get incorporated into the host genome, host cell DNA, and directs the infected cells to produce viral particles. Thereby, it leads to the proliferation of the HIV. These macrophages continue to produce more and more HIV viruses, and in this way, it is acting as a HIV factory. This is very, very important, how the macrophages are going to act as an HIV factory. So, the cells which act as an HIV factories are macrophages. Once it infects, once the virus enters into the macrophages, where it releases its viral genome into, and it get incorporated with the host genome, thereby producing the more and more number of the viruses. Therefore, the macrophages will act as a factory for the HIV. Therefore, we consider it as a HIV factory. Macrophages are the HIV factories. Now, moving on to, so here we can see this is the retrovirus, right? And a retrovirus consists of single-stranded RNA as its genetic material. As its genetic material. Look at here. Viral RNA core. This virus infects normal animal cell. So this cell is acting as a host cell. Now this is called as host cell. Okay. Now this viral protein coat will not enter. This is a viral protein coat. This is protein coat inside which we have RNA. Here only RNA get incorporated into the host cell. So here viral RNA is introduced into the host cell. Then what happened? This is RNA and viral DNA is produced by reverse transcriptases. Now this RNA is going to convert into DNA. This RNA is going to convert into DNA, and this is happening by the presence of an enzyme called as reverse transcriptase. Now we have viral DNA. This get incorporated into the host DNA. So viral DNA incorporates into the host genome. So here, this is the genome of the host cell where we find the presence of DNA. Now the newly produced viral DNA gets incorporated. Now the new viral RNA, as this is DNA, from the DNA we have the production of the RNA. But the RNA which is coming belongs to the viral. So that is called as viral RNA. A new viral RNA is produced from the infected cells. So from this DNA, RNAs are producing. And all this RNA belongs to viral group, therefore viral RNA. And this RNA produces further protein to make a complete small viral cells. And these viral cells keeps on increasing, and which proliferates in a very large scale that going to infect another healthier cells. That is what it is going to infect a total T cells as well as macrophages, as there is a decrease in the T4 cells or T helper cells or CD4 cells, and also decrease in the macrophages where it provides immune response. Now the number is decreased, therefore the immune response also going to be very decreased, suppressed, weakened, right? Now, so here simultaneously HIV enters into helper T lymphocytes, replicate and produces progeny viruses. Number of progeny cells are produced. Single stranded DNA, single stranded RNA. Now, this progeny viruses released into the blood and attack the other healthy T lymphocytes, thereby decreasing the number of the T lymphocytes further and further. And also this is repeated, leading to the progressive. It is progressive decrease. Therefore, it takes time, and that time lag is differ from one individual to the another individual, and ranges from 5 years to 10 years. That is what happening. First it has to proliferate, increases number, then starts infecting the T cells, then starts infecting more and more number of the T cells and also macrophages. Finally it leads to show the appearance of the symptoms of this AIDS. This is repetitive, leading to progressive decrease in the number of helper T lymphocytes, and it starts infecting the body. Now, during this period, the person suffers with lots of fever, diarrhea, weight loss, and due to decrease in the number, this is very, very important, due to decrease in the number of helper T cells, T lymphocytes, the person starts suffering from lot of infections. If the T cells are there, they give the protection against simple infections. Now, in this case, as the T cells number is very, very low, simple infections are also going to be very complicated in this type of infected persons. The person starts suffering from infections that would have been otherwise overcome if the sufficient number of T cells are present. But the T helper cells are not present in the sufficient number. So, as such, he exposes to so many infections which are caused by bacteria, especially mycobacterium, viral infections, fungal infections, even parasites like Toxoplasma. Now, so here the patients become so immunodeficient that he is not able to protect himself or she is not able to protect herself against simple infections. These simple infections are also going to be very complicated in these type of affected persons. A widely used diagnostic kit to diagnose the presence of the HIV viruses is ELISA, which is enzyme linked immunosorbent assay. Enzyme linked immunosorbent assay. So this is the test which is used to diagnose the presence of the antibodies that are produced against the entry of the HIV virus. And treatment, coming to the treatment of the AIDS, we know that usage of antiretroviral drugs is only partially effective. It is not completely effective. It is only partially effective. They can only prolong the life of the patient, just prolong the life of the patients, but cannot prevent death, which is inevitable, unavoidable. It has to happen certainly. Now, it's always treatment as it is not provided effective, like this complete effective treatment is not available. Therefore, the only way is prevention. As AIDS has no cure, prevention is the best option. Moreover, HIV infections more often spreads due to conscious behavior. It is not going to happen suddenly, unexpectedly. This is happening just because of very conscious behavior pattern, which is not something that happens very inadvertently. That means accidentally, without knowingly. This is very dependent on the conscious behavior patterns. Like something which comes with contaminated food or the water, it happens by chance, accidentally. But that is not the case in the case of infection of HIV, where we can see very accidentally we come in contact with the contaminated food, contaminated water, or contaminated, that means airborne diseases, waterborne diseases. This can happen by chance, but this cannot happen by chance, right? Now, of course, infections in blood transfusions, newborn from mother to the child, etc. Maybe if we take care of monitoring is perfect, then we can avoid the situations. This happens because of the poor monitoring, which is not effective. If this poor monitoring is replaced with a very effective monitoring, then we can definitely stop the transfusion of this HIV from the infected mothers to the babies, newborn babies, right? Now, moving on, the only excuse may be ignorance, and it has been rightly said, don't die of ignorance, because it is not happening by the chance. It is depending upon a conscious behavior pattern. And in our countries, the National AIDS Control Organization, National AIDS Control Organization, and other NGOs, non-governmental organizations, work hard to get the awareness about this AIDS, are doing a lot to educate the people about AIDS. And WHO, World Health Organization, has started a number of programs to prevent the spreading of these HIV infections. Making blood banks where the blood is completely purified, devoid of these HIVs, making blood from the blood banks safe from HIVs, ensuring the use of only disposable needles, syringes in the public as well as private hospitals and clinics, controlling drug abuse, advocating to have a safe intercourse, promoting regular checkups of HIV in very susceptible population where there is a much more chances of the infections. These are all can be taken as a preventive measures, and these are some steps to taken up to avoid the infections or to reduce the rate of the infections. Now, infections with HIV or having AIDS is not something should be hidden, because that person is going to act as a carrier of this HIV to transmit to the healthier persons and to increase the spread of this disease more and more. So therefore, since then the infections may spread to many more people. So therefore, it shouldn't be hidden. And HIV infected people shouldn't be humiliated, ignored, rejected from the families as well as society. We have to help them to cope up with their health and to develop a healthy activity such that they can prolong their time lag, right? So HIV/AIDS infected patients need help and sympathy instead of being shunned. That means constant ignorance, humiliation by the society, right? And unless society recognizes this problem to dealt with in collective manner, this is not an individual problem, it is a collective manner, and the chances of widespread of the disease increases manifold. If they do not recognizes it to be controlled collectively, if they start ignoring and hiding the problem, it keeps on spreading and spreading, and the increase of this disease spread will be very much increased and it will be doubled, tripled, right? It is malady, disease. Malady is nothing but disease. So this is what, where we have to treat with a sympathy and we have to take care of that infected patients such that it is not going to transmit from one person to the another person, and also if the affected person also taken care by the family and the society, then there is no further transmission of this HIV. That is what we have discussed here. See, that can be only be tackled by society. And medical fraternity, that means a group of the people which works with a similar interest, and that interest is medical fraternity acting together to prevent the spread of the disease, right? Yeah. So with this we come to the present session end, where we have discussed about the AIDS and HIV, that is a virus which causes AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, group of symptoms. And also we have discussed about the mechanism and how the replication of the retroviruses takes place, preventions and treatment, all we have studied in detail in this class. Coming up class, we'll discuss about cancer, right? So with this, we have finished the topic AIDS. So if you find this session interesting, informative, make sure that you subscribe, like and share this session. Keep learning with We Learning. All the very best.